in this in a preparation for your yoga practice. Very intentional preparation, not just setting up your props that you're going to be sitting on, but also setting up your intention. Closing your eyes as you feel ready. And so you might allow the breath to begin to slow down. Or maybe as you watch it, watching the breath now, noticing that how it slows down all on its own when you give it the chance. So either focusing on your body seated here, or the palms of your hands, or the center of your chest, the heart center. But just picking a place and resting your attention there and letting the breath slow down. Just let the body soften a little bit, relaxing those shoulders, dropping the hips, belly soft. And yet feel with the breath how the spine stretches upwards. Feel as you breathe how the spine lengthens all the way up to the crown of the head. A bit more space. Let yourself soften while breathing up through your spine to the top of the head. So see if you can connect with the intention of letting go of anything that has happened before this moment. And then also let go of anything that hasn't happened yet. Worries, concerns for the future things. Just let yourself come home, as Thich Nhat Hanh called it. Coming home to present moment. Let the breath be, each breath, one after the other. Let that be what tethers you into this present moment space. So when you notice thinking start to pop up into the mind, see if you can see these experiences in the mind, thinking, as formations of the mind, or maybe as just a narrative, the storyline your mind creates. Just notice. See if you can notice and become aware of when the formation in the mind comes in the form of an image, and other times as a narrative. And also notice when the mind is not being occupied by images or stories. And then just be. Just breathing and relaxing into that fathomless space. All right, so see if you can bring into the rest of your practice this morning this sense of space. Space not just in the mind, but also space in the body, space in the knee. Feel that sense of your own innate, fathomless self. And then as you're ready, you can bring your palms together in front of your heart, bowing the head. And so it begins, the practice of yoga. Okay, so you can open your eyes and begin to move the body a little bit. So let's lie down, and hopefully you have a block nearby. So we're going to do this kind of a little bit of an exploration of alignments in a kind of a supine Tarasana. So you can, I have a blanket already opened up all the way out on top of my yoga mat. So if you like, you can do the same thing. And it's just going to give you the, there's some snow on mine from the four-leggeds running in here earlier. Anyway, so just, it'll give you an ability to reduce friction when you're moving around. And as we were kind of informally talking about the knee, when you're kind of crawling around and kneeling, another opportunity to give your knee some some protection. So you're gonna, we're gonna lie down. So make sure you have enough room here. Let me turn the screen. You can see the whole length of me. And you're gonna take your block and you're gonna put it between your feet. Okay, between the inner ankles. So that your feet, the balls of the big toes, the side of the big toes, big toe mounds, what we call them in yoga, big toe mounds are pressing into squeezing into the sides of the block, but the pinky sides of the feet are drawing towards you. So it's like your foot is kind of the action that would be if you were actually, your foot was flat on the floor and it was bearing weight. So you can go ahead and lie down, so you can lower yourself to the floor here. Arms out in a T. Adjust your head so like you're in Shavasana, except there's action in the legs. So you could also draw the toes so they're pointing more towards you than away from you. And they're definitely the feet are not flopping apart, because otherwise you wouldn't be squeezing the block, right? Pressing out through the heels, but keep the heels on the floor. So notice that, especially if you tend to hyperflex your knees, that when you press through the heels, sometimes your heels come up off the floor and you're sort of balancing on the calf muscles. So if that's happening, you're probably locking your knees, right? You're pushing your knees, the back of the knees toward the floor. So let that release, and in your experience, it might be, you might feel it as you're kind of slightly bending the knees. That's okay. That will be how it will feel to you for a while. But in actuality, you're straightening them because you reduce the hyperflexion. All right, so then you can now just let your legs flop away from each other, feet flop away from the block. So now you're in more of a Shavasana kind of a situation with your legs, right? Now they're completely relaxed. So now let your knees roll away from each other. Everything kind of rolls outward. You can even jiggle the legs a little with your hands. Get the thighs to loosen, or shake the legs, roll them back and forth a little bit gently. Whoops. All right, so now we're going to do a sort of, I've been thinking of this motion or this movement as a baby virasana, because the final exploration will be in the feel will be in opening of the quadriceps. So this is sort of, and also we're talking about the knees. This would be a safe way to start to open the quadriceps a little bit more, especially if you do have some knee issues. So put your legs back into that Tadasana. Imagine the block being there between the big toe mounds. And then you're going to start to bend or slide the left heel along the floor, along the blanket, all the way up. And as you're sliding the heel up, the foot's going to turn out to the side, and your knee is also going to rotate out to the side. And just bring the foot up to whatever is the comfortable position, as high up as you are comfortably able to do so. So you're actually kind of in it looks like you're in tree pose, only you're lying on the ground. Yeah. So now press your foot, the pinky side of the left foot, into the floor and start to roll the foot to the sole. So then the knee follows and is now pointing up toward the ceiling. Yeah? And then take the knee
the left knee over the right leg and start to push with the ball of the left foot. So you're going to kind of come up onto the ball of the foot so the heel comes up off the floor, and roll the knee over the right leg. And then as you do that, let the back of the left pelvis, let it come up off the floor too. So point the knee, draw the left knee away from the left hip so that you're creating that space in the thigh, and then also ultimately space for your knee. Just let everything else relax. Shoulders are resting on the floor, hands on the floor, head on the floor. All right, then you can start to roll back down. So the hip's going to come back to the floor. And now you're going to move kind of in reverse. Let the left knee move toward the floor, out to the side, but keep the foot on the floor. Now the side of the left foot, outer side of the left foot, pinky side is on the floor. And then go ahead and straighten the leg. Just slide it along the floor and straighten back out. Press through the heel when you get back out to a full Supine Tarasana. So this isn't Shavasana, because if it was Shavasana, you would be completely released and your feet would be flopped out. Legs would be rolling out to the sides. But since the legs are active, this is more along the lines of Tadasana, the way you would be standing if you were on your standing upright. All right, let's do the other side. So slide the foot in, the right foot turns out to the side, and the knee drops out to the side. Now don't try to press your right leg down to the floor. So it's just going to kind of hover there. But then forget about your leg, but take attention to the right foot and roll the foot up onto its sole. Yeah? That always feels really good to my sacrum. All kinds of space in my sacrum when I do this. So it's not just for the knee. You might notice other bonus tracks that you get. And then go ahead and cross the right knee over the left leg. And remember, you're coming up onto the ball of the right foot, kind of pushing with the ball of the right foot, and then the right hip lifts up off the floor. And you can point the right knee away. You're kind of pulling the right knee away from the right hip. And breathe. So I kind of been calling this the baby virasana. That if all the other variations of virasana are either difficult at best to impossible, then this might be where you practice. And yet, there's so many benefits to this that it's not just for those who've had their knees replaced. All right, so take another breath. I guess it could be considered also for those who don't want to have their knees replaced, would like to hold on to their knees for as long as possible. All right, go ahead and roll back, taking the sole of the right foot back to the floor, and then we'll move in reverse. So now rolling the right foot to the pinky side, to the side of the foot, knee drops out to the side, and then slide the leg on the floor. Keep the foot in contact with the floor, and when the leg has straightened, you kind of roll the foot back up onto the back of the heel. Press out through the heels. So you could do both sides again one more time. A good recommendation for this is to do it before you roll out of bed in the morning. So the alarm goes off, you wake up, You're still lying in bed. I know I used to say to you guys, do a child's pose, right? Draw the knees to the chest as you're lying in bed. Well, this could be the second thing that you do. So go ahead and slide the left leg up, knee drops out to the side, roll up onto the sole of the the left foot. And then you're going to cross the left leg over the right. You're on the roots of the toes so that the heel comes up off the floor and you're pushing with the foot. And then the left hip lifts up off the floor. And you just really draw the left knee away from the hip, the left hip. All kinds of space there. All right, so you can take another breath. And roll on back down so the hip touches down. Put the whole sole of the foot on the floor. And then we'll roll the foot back out to the pinky side, so that's what's on the floor, and slide and straighten the leg slowly as you slide the left foot back down. When you come to the point that both legs are straight, press out through the heels again. You might want to touch the big toe mounds together, imagining the block perhaps between the feet, just to give you that spaciousness in the legs, in the lower back even. All right, so let's do the last side, last time. So you're sliding the right foot up, keep the heel on the floor as the foot turns and the knee bends out to the side. And then roll up onto the sole of the right foot. Now the knee is pointing up toward the ceiling. And then go ahead and take the right leg, cross it over the left leg, and come up onto the ball of the right foot as you push with the foot. Trying to lengthen the knee, right knee away from the hip. Just breathe. One last breath. And then slowly roll back. Back of the hips touch down. Put the sole of the foot back on the floor. Let the knee drop out to the side in that Baddha Konasana kind of a angle, and slide your foot out all the way out. Come back into this Supine Tarasana. All right, so let's do one more since we're down here lying down. Go ahead and slide your feet back up so that your knees are bent and pointing up toward the sky. Soles of the feet are on the floor. And then we're going to open up both knees, but first touch the big toe mounds together. So right where the where the block was between your big toes, your big toe mounds, the sides there. Just touch those parts, the sides of the feet together, and then start to let the knees drop out. And as you do, try to turn the foot. Actually, see if you could turn the foot first, so that the soles of the feet are turning towards each other. To kind of do that book, open book position, or Namaste. I like to think of it as the feet are in Namaste, in Atman, Jali Mudra. So soles of the feet are now pressing together, right? So again, don't, the object here is not to push the knees down or the legs down to touch the floor. Okay, so just keep pressing the soles of the feet together, and now you're going to bring the knees together. So you're going to close the book and let the foot, each foot, turn back so that the soles of the feet are now on the floor again. So it's that, kind of pressing the feet. The feet are always in contact with the floor as you open up the knees. Now you're on the pinky sides of the feet, pinky sides or what are resting on the floor. Soles of the feet, try to press them together so the inner groins are active. Where else do you notice activity? I get it all the way into my lower abdomen for me. So then go ahead and draw the knees together, soles of the feet, roll back down onto the floor. Take a breath or two when you come back up into the bent knee position. And let's do a couple more. So go ahead and you're letting the knees open up, but you're not just dropping them. There's some action here. You're lowering them, but pressing the soles of the feet together. Sides of the feet are pressing down onto the floor. And then coming back up. Back to the soles of the feet. So if this is in straining in the hip joint, like the side of your hips feels like a sense of pinch or cramp, slide your feet away from the body a little bit. I probably should have led with that. So that the angle at the knees is larger, greater. But if you're fine, if you don't feel that, then you can leave your legs where they are. So let's just do one more. Opening the knees out, pressing the feet. And back. Back, back, back. Feet to the floor. Okay. So go ahead and, how about we do some hip opening, because we're going to do a Sukhasan here in a minute. So go ahead and cross your left leg over the right. We're going to do some through the whole stretch. Everybody's favorite. And then go ahead and raise the leg up. You can slip your arm through the space that you created when you crossed your left over the right. Clasp your hands behind the knee. So it's going around the back of the right thigh. The hands are clasped around the back of the right thigh. Close your eyes. Just breathe. Take about 5 nice, slow, steady breaths. And then as you're ready, after that 5th breath, you can uncross the legs, bring the feet back to the floor, And you can slide your feet out further away from the body, out to the sides, and let the knees kind of drop in to rest on each other. And then you can take the feet in closer together, so kind of go toe to heel, toe, then the heels come in, toes, then the heels. And then cross your right leg over the left. And reach through the opening you created with the right arm and clasp your hands together underneath the left knee. So the intensity or the deepening of this posture and the space can be encouraged by kind of bending your elbows and drawing your left thigh toward the left shoulder. So take another 2 deep breaths here. Just breathing in and out through the nose. All right, then you can lower your left foot back to the floor. Take both feet to the floor now. And you can crisscross applesauce your legs if you like, or to roll up this way, or if that's proving to be difficult these days, you could just roll to your side and push yourself up. But when you're in crisscross applesauce, or if that's again too difficult, you can do this just by drawing your knees to the chest and rocking from side to side to begin. And then we're gonna rock from in the other direction, so from head to tail, until you can sit up. Wow, I did it on the first one. Okay, so let's now play with Sukhasan. So Sukhasan is the seated posture where your legs or your knees are a little bit more open than if you were to be sitting, say, in this cross-legged position. So in Sukhasan, you open up your lap, let's say. Somebody once called this like the envelope, because you're putting, when you slip the flap of an envelope inside of the body of the envelope, so it's kind of like you're trying to do that with your feet, your legs. So you can lean back for this, and you're just trying to slide along your blanket, hopefully that you had opened up, so there's no friction here. Slide, or less friction.
slide your front leg away from the body, the other leg. If you like, you can sit more upright, but it's also fine to lean back. You can also, you can see my front foot, flex the front foot so that the side, the pinky, notice how the pinky side of the foot is completely what's on the floor, on the mat. And you can draw the toes back so the toes are pointing or moving toward the knee. This is very good for the health of the knee. All the bones, the lower leg bones, the tibia in particular, is moving in the direction that it needs to be rotating, and so is the femur up here. So there's actually an internal rotation of the tibia and an external rotation of your femur going on, which makes for a happy knee. You can come to yoga and get your happy knee. And just take a couple more breaths. And you can start to push yourself up, and we're going to exchange the legs now. So take your front leg in and your back leg or inside leg, take it out. Change the flap of your envelope. And so again, you're sliding so you can see how this is almost in preparation, or it's sort of a deconstruction, if you will, of that Keith Haring, what I've been calling the Keith Haring variation of pigeon. Yeah, this right angle right here of the front leg, and keep the ankle joint, so the top of the ankle is flexing, and the toes are pointing toward the knee, the right knee, the kneecap actually. Keep your elbows from locking. So we keep the knees from locking, but also the elbows need to keep unlocked. So I guess in theory, you could be flexing both of your feet. So the inside foot could also be, at a right angle, 90-degree angle, so that the top of the ankle is in flexion. And the toes are pointing towards the corresponding knee. And again, this aids in that external rotation of the femur, internal rotation of the tibia. And you can even kind of tuck your calf muscle in. And just notice when you make these little manual adjustments, what kind of space is being created there behind the knee. It's such a good feeling. You can actually notice it. Much more space, more spacious, more that fathomless space. All right, so let's take one more breath. And you can go ahead and push yourself up. And straighten the legs back out, pressing through the heels. Okay. So now we can prepare for the Keith Haring seated pose, or the Keith Haring pigeon. And in order to make it into a bit more of a restorative pose that you can close your eyes and take a block or a couple blocks. Take two if you need to stack up, and then, whoops, well, decide which leg you want to go first. I think I switched the leg that was going first, but hey, we live in a free society in my body. So remembering you're looking for these right angles. And you can even manually internally rotate the tibias. So internally and externally rotating the femurs by flexing, keeping the feet flexed, right? So then when you're ready, you can fold over. Resting your head on the block. Stay in the body. Perhaps if you've been focusing kind of in a macro way, focusing on the feet or the ankles or the knees, or the hips for that matter, see if you can encourage and kind of telescope your way out so that you include a more inclusive focus on the body. So you're including more areas of the body. Continuing to come back to the present moment. Making space for the entirety of your experience in the present moment. Holding it, cradling it. Breathing into it. All right, so you can start to bring yourself back, pressing up. And then we'll switch sides. So sitting all the way up, as high up as you can, as you lean back and do the old switcheroo. Don't forget to bring your block with you. And allow for all the right angles. Sense of space behind the knees. Letting the front leg, the tibia, Internally rotate, so this means you can roll the calf muscle with your hands gently down to the floor. And then when you're ready, coming down over the block for the head to rest, eyes to rest, ears to rest, taking refuge inside the body, connecting with the space within, with that fathomless, luminous space. When you notice your thinking start to parade by in front of in the foreground of your awareness in the mind, see if you can let them keep on marching by, parade fashion. Try not to get hooked by the thinking. Again, seeing the thoughts as formations of the mind, narrative, stories, not deeply, essentially you. So let's take 2 more deep breaths, just through the nose. And then you can walk your hands in, pushing yourself up, sitting all the way up. And so once again, you can just sit upright. You can put the block between your feet, lean back. So the big toe mounds are kind of gently gripping the block. The heels might be away from the side of the block. So it's the big toe that are pressing into the block. And if you were to flex the feet, then the block, you could actually draw the block towards you. Yeah. Keep the knees from locking. So a slight bend in the knees. Lengthen up through the spine. You can take your hands, manually adjust the flesh of the sit bones, draw the flesh back. All right. So now we're going to do a similar thing with the block, only we're going to do downward dog. So you can have your bolster or whatever you use on the floor nearby, so that when you come down from downward dog, you can rest in a twisted child. But you're going to take the block and you're going to put it between your thighs. Okay, so when you push up into downward dog for this variation, what you might notice is that your feet are going to need to be closer together than what you maybe typically do. Another thing that you can do if your shoulders are, because your legs are closer together, if you feel more pressure on the shoulders, you can separate your hands so that your arms are a little bit wider in this downward dog. And you can also, of course, turn your hands in, you know, when you're, there you go. When you're on the mat, you can have your hands turning inward, right? Like this. So, again, having trouble getting the right there. Okay. So the block is going to go between your thighs. So maybe as high up on the inner thighs as you can get the block to go. And then it's going to be a little awkward at first, but you can come to hands and knees. And already you have to kind of squeeze the block between the thighs. Curl the toes under, so you're going to start off in the same way that you would for downward dog, although you might not be able to go all the way back with the hips, so go back as far as you can. And then go ahead and straighten the legs up into a downward dog, and you're trying to draw the block back with the legs. See if I can get a better view for you. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. So there's an internal rotation of the thighs. And again, you might need to step the feet a little closer together in order for the block not to fall down. Hopefully you have a light block. If you're using the wooden ones, that might not work. So if the block is too heavy, I just don't want it to accidentally fall on your foot. So if you don't have a block, a light one, then the same action can be happening here. You're internally rotating the thighs, and you're trying to take the inner thighs up toward the ceiling. So the outer thigh, or the outer sides of the thighs, are rotating down toward the floor, while the insides of the thighs are rolling toward the ceiling. So that's the what it means to internally rotate them. Keep the knees from locking, so every now and then perhaps bend the knees actively as you roll the sit bones up. All right, then you can lower yourself to the floor. You can take your block out and grab your bolster. And we'll twist in a twisted child. Sitting behind the bolster, allowing for that derotation first. Keeping the spine lifted right up through the crown of the head as you rotate around your central axis. And then spin to face the bolster. So as you are lowering yourself down, you can press your hands into the top of the bolster to apply some leverage. So you can kind of extend and lengthen a little bit more as you come over the top of the bolster, turning your head to rest on one side of your face or the other. Releasing with gravity.
So take one more breath here.
And we can go ahead and push up, pushing all the way up. And let's do another downward dog. So if you enjoyed that exploration with the block between your thighs, then go ahead and you can replace that. And rising up. Bending the knees, roll the sit bones up. Again, if you're using the block, you can take the feet closer together, just so the block doesn't fall. All right, one more breath here. And lowering yourself to the floor. And taking the bolster back in so that you can twist to the second side. De-rotating first. And spinning when you're ready. And again, trying to, once you get your hands on top of the bolster, kind of apply some pressure, leverage with your arms so you can open up the front line of the body, the belly, and extend it over that edge of the bolster a little bit more, creating space. Soften your face. All right, so you can slowly start bringing yourself back. Pushing yourself up, come to a more upright position. Okay, so let's return to a Supta Baddha Konasana so that we can practice our humming Bramari breath. So you can use the bolster for this, and this time we want to be supporting the legs with 2 rolled up blankets so that your legs can completely, everything can completely relax. So you can have a bolster for the back, 2 rolled up blankets for your legs. You can have a blanket to cover up with, and a pillow, something to raise, or another blanket, something to raise your head up so it's a little bit higher than the rest of you. So once you settle yourself in into the body, onto the mat, closing your eyes, and beginning to let the inhalation, the inhaled breaths, be breathed in. Imagine the air moving all the way down to the bottom lobes of the lungs, letting the navel move upward each time you inhale, and just keep the navel lifted until you feel that you have brought in a full amount. And then as you're exhaling, just let the navel drop back down. And then when this becomes rhythmic and comfortable, you can begin to add in your humming. And as you're humming, see if you can just kind of focus on just toxins, anything that you don't wish to have be in your body anymore. Focus on those things leaving with that hum. Just breathing in and out through the nose, no matter what, but allowing that vibration of your humming to be vibrating in the nasal sinuses, nasal cavity, sinuses behind the nose, behind the eyes, in the throat, the roof of the mouth. You can play with the pitch, letting the vibration be sensed or felt in different areas of the head or the brain. And just notice this. So have a sense that, or just even just the knowledge, the fact that humming is increasing the amount of nitric oxide in the veins and arteries, and that this nitric oxide increase kind of is sterilizing incoming air, killing germs. It also functions as a natural muscle relaxer. And it can actually reverse plaque buildup and cholesterol buildup in the vessels. So let's hum for another minute or so.
All right, so then let your breath rhythm and sound become less guided and more soundless. And you can begin to roll your feet back up like we were doing earlier so that the soles come to the floor, and you could take your inner groins together, knees together, and roll to your side. Pushing yourself up. So then bringing yourself to the wall or wherever you're going to do your inversion today. You can be just simply putting your legs over the seat of a chair if you like, if the wall is not available to you. But if you are going to practice a full Viparita Karani, I would like you to start going to add in the belt to the whole practice. We used to do this a while back. Kind of got away from it. I was reminded of its loveliness. So remember that you're gonna make a loop that's big enough for you to put your feet and legs in before you bring yourself to the wall. You can kind of sit on your bolster and do this. Now, if you're just going to put your legs over a chair or you're going to do a Stonehenge, then don't belt your legs. This is just for Viparita Karani. And you take the belt up, a little bit up into the thighs. And the belt is it's going to be pretty snug, not too tight, but snug, so that when you bring your legs up, you're looking up at your legs and they kind of resemble what they looked like when you had the block between the feet. And so you can kind of put a little pressure on the sides of the thighs so that you push out on the belt to make it a little taut. And if you need to, you can adjust the size of the belt, tighten it or loosen it. Take your arms out to the side. You can interlace the hands too, if you wish, over the body. Interlace the hands and then turn the palms up toward the ceiling as you stretch the arms up. And then you can take your arms overhead and then release your clasp. Let the arms slide out to the sides a bit more, bending the elbows. Coming down into more of that cactus pose for your arms. Close your eyes. Be luminous, receptive. Be the change. So taking a moment to begin to move slowly. You can wiggle the fingers and toes, revolve the wrists and the ankles, the feet. And trying not to pop back too fast into the world of linear, confined space. As you're moving now, continue to feel that spaciousness within and without that which surrounds you, included in your awareness. Opening your eyes to include sight whenever you're ready. Slide your feet down the wall or bend the knees. You could slip off your belt. And when you're ready, roll to your side. Pushing yourself up. Coming to sit up. Taking your palms together in front of the heart. Bowing your head. And remember now, you already have everything that you need inside. Namaste. And thank you all. Thank you for being.